Identify ways in which the technology could be helpful and ways it could go wrong, while ultimately answering the question of whether or not we should adopt this new technology.
Hold on, let me send streaks.
Oh my god.
Okay, so should. So that means it's already a possibility to adopt new technology. Why wouldn't you adopt new technology? The more we evolve, the better life gets, right?
That's whack. Take weapons of war technologies, for instance. When we read Einstein's letter to the president, he went over, this new phenomenon would also lead to the construction of bombs, and it is conceivable, though much less certain, that extremely powerful bombs of this type may thus be constructed. For real, I can see how that's like a negative thing, but from the same source, I pulled out. Let me get it. I understand that Germany has actually stopped the sale of uranium from the Czechoslovakian mines which she has taken over. That we should have taken such early action might perhaps be understood on the ground that the son of the German Undersecretary of State, von Weizsäcker, is attached to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, where some of the American work on uranium is now being repeated. In its first sentence of the text, we read of Germany. He's referring to Germany as a tactic to have the president notice that the U.S. is actually behind in the development of bombs. Einstein is pushing the president. But maybe his comparison to Germany is the other side here. It makes sense for Americans to begin making uranium bombs if the others had already begun and were behind. It'd be dangerous if we didn't do it. We'd be behind them.
I agree. If anyone's making uranium bombs first, we gotta be ahead for a fat minute. Einstein was smart about that.
As much of a king Einstein is, if we're speaking about humans as a whole, maybe the idea of bombs shouldn't have occurred in the first place.
Well, there are poorly done takes on technology and war. Like, take the article Pros and Cons of Autonomous Weapons System, for example. Allowing AI to make decisions about targeting will most likely result in civilian casualties and unacceptable collateral damage. While the pros are only for the nations who are using the new tech, and the cons are for the other side, which has a greater number of casualties. Not only will there be men serving death, but there's going to be civilians facing the same consequences and fate if we continue making new weapons, especially the weapons that don't depend on a human.
Okay, but even if there are a few negatives, it's stupid to just think of one thing when we'd also be protecting our men. But I do think one of our bigger problems is the health risk of our current technology. Oh, you mean GMOs and all that? Really? They're not a big deal.
Not just GMOs, there's pesticides too, and they can be a real problem. There's this fable, Silent Spring, describing them. Then a strange blight crept over the area and everything began to change. Everywhere was a shadow of death. No witchcraft, no enemy action has silenced the rebirth of new life in this stricken world. That people had done it to themselves. The once seemingly perfect environment is now being described as a diminishing setting, and so suddenly. Near the end of the chapter, it's revealed that it was done by all of us. We're making it hard for ourselves and our health. And if we want to live a healthy life, then we need to slow down.
Alrighty, but we could fix our mistakes, right? Not necessarily. Remember reading Shading the Earth? There we read, if we put up a sunshade without restraining emissions, and the sunshade later fails, the climate accident would become a train wreck. The global warming we've been masking would come rushing at us at once. That might be the worst unintended consequence of geoengineering. If CO2 keeps rising, though, we may face greater emergencies, and what once seemed insane hubris just might become reality.
So what you're saying is, the human race has already dug its own hole, so now we have to try and make it up on top of our ongoing mistakes. So even if we face the reality that we can't take back everything we've done because bringing new inventions can possibly make things worse. On the other hand, if we leave things as they are, the effects of CO2 will force us to build up larger problems. And we'd really be deciding between two bad decisions, and all of this is considered evolving.
Wait, didn't we just read something like that from the article Shading the Earth? It's almost like scientists are playing God because they're trying to change the climate.
Well, we've already been through this piece of evidence. I mean, it can be interpreted in multiple ways. Their solution is fixing global warming by putting some sort of shade. But this sounds like a good idea, although it can be seen as playing God by altering the climate. That would of course have its repercussions. It would cause damage and cause engineering to go chaotic. Humans taking on a role too powerful for them doesn't seem to end well, according to this article.
But what about genetic editing? If Dr. Frankenstein could do it, it must not be too far out of reach, right? I feel like humans can hold a little power at least.
Are you kidding? Dr. Frankenstein hated his creation. Shelley wrote, "I had desired with an endure as far as exceeded moderation, but now that I finished, the beauty of the dream vanished, and breathless horror and disgust filled my heart."
That gets me, because it's true. Frankenstein's plans to create life seemed almost power crazy. He was determined to achieve his goal, but what happened when he saw his creation come to life?
It was no longer his creation, but his monster. In the film Dr. Frankenstein, he's thrilled to see his invention take a breath of life, but in the novel, there's a turn in mood and tone, and he's disgusted by what stood before him. He couldn't do it, and he couldn't match the power of a stronger force.
Oh, alright, so it's never okay to play God then. Are you stupid? Of course it's okay in some circumstances, but it's not really comparable to God. Yet totally necessary, you rat.
Yeah, like real-life genetic editing. There's an article from Richard Payne, may he rest in peace.
We would kindly like to pay respects to Richard Payne, who died on January 3rd, 2019.
There are strong arguments in support of the wise use of CRISPR-Cas9 technologies in medicine. Obvious examples relate to the eliminating types of cancer, cardiovascular, and neurological diseases by selective editing genes of embryos with unidentifiable mutations that can cause these disorders.
Okay, so then sometimes playing God is just what humans need to do. If we're capable of genetic editing, would it not make our society stronger? There is technology like this that is put to good use that increases human motivation to stay healthy. In these cases, genetic editing would not only eliminate cancers, but reduce the issues in pregnancies and such.
But what about the health risks of it all? That's it. There are multiple concerns for these health risks, but would you rather do nothing, Samantha?
So what do you think the answer to all of this is? Now we know that we can use technology, but in what ways?
Should we be using it to such extent, though?
I guess it all depends on everyone's personal perspective, but we can all agree that there is only so much humans can have control of.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Weird flex, but okay. We can all agree not to use technology too much, but we could.
Yeah, there are certain things that go too far with technology. We still need to keep our humanity close to us.
Hopefully you learned something new from all that, and here are the bloopers from the whole video, so enjoy.
Luckies? I wish I could sit out here. Who are you talking to? Are we learning?
Yeah. Someone's making uranium bombs.
Why do you keep saying you're serving Jim's bombs?
Super sketchy.
How sketchy.
It was emo.
Like you were currently on drugs but also dealing drugs? Like that's kind of, I'm on camera saying that.
I could see why you would say that.
What are you guys talking about? No,
I'll come to the fall.
I was actually talking.
Oh, Ben.
Okay.
Oh, I read that.
Is it a hip hop video?
No. That's what I said. We need to live a healthy life.
Sorry.
So what you're saying is, the human race is already done.
No.
Got the
Coming up.
this article.
That sounds so Studysync.
You little rat.
You rat. That was good.
That was good.
That was a good line. You did good.
Yeah, that was good.
We're done with
Here's,
it. Becky, get away from me.
What's going on?
okay, ready?
So what do you think the answer is to? And you're the one that says weird flex. Hey, what's up?
Hi.
Hi. Not flex, but okay.
Weird flex, but
What's going on?
Summer is not a reliable source.
weird flex, but okay. We can all hear
Wait, what's the script?
If we're using technology too much in the world,
I think we can all use a little bit less of technology, as in social media.
what are your sources?
I don't have any sources.